Good evening, everyone. We will call this committee of the whole meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Nikawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Pitimisawak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. We do have an addition to the agenda this evening. So, Council, can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the May 13th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting be adopted with the addition of G2, Town Manager Update? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I will make the adoption agenda May 13, 2025 with the addition of G2.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the April 8th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no presentations and delegations this evening, but we do have some bylaws and policies under Section E. First is Land Use Bylaw number 2296, Year 1 Amendments, and we will hand things over to Mr. Clayton Kitlitz, our General Manager of Infrastructure and Operations, and Ms. Julia Darling is going to join us as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, I guess, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm just going to quickly introduce this, and then we're going to have our planning consultant, Kyle Miller, do the bulk of the presentation, and Julia and I will be here to help answer any questions. Just an introduction of the list of amendments that we've come up with so far with administering our land use bylaw for the first year. Not a huge list. I think from my perspective and seeing these before, I think it's a list that doesn't really surprise me too much. It's pretty typical stuff that we would see in the first year of administering a land use bylaw. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kyle, who I hope is online, and he'll walk us through the amendment log.
Yes, I am here. Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz, and thank you to committee for having me here to present to you tonight. I'm just going to share my screen so we can share the presentation, and then we can move through these amendments. That is not the screen. Apologies for that. Too many screens, you know. Should be the bottom. I seem to recall we had this issue last time I tried to present as well. There was an issue presenting screen 2. Maybe I can just pick a window and try that. I don't think that's working.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
Perfect. Okay. So thank you, as I said, thank you very much for having me. About a year ago, Council adopted a new land use bylaw. That land use bylaw went through a fairly comprehensive review and public consultation process. In the year since, obviously, administration has been using that new land use bylaw to review development proposals and issue development permits that have been submitted by landowners and residents within the town. And as a result, there's been some areas of the land use bylaw that have been identified as areas that we could maybe beef up to provide additional direction to administration, or clarify to provide additional transparency to residents in what administration will be asking for when they submit a development permit application. And I guess part of the overall goal of this process is to make sure that the land use bylaw is being consistently interpreted in a way that works for the residents and works for administration and is implemented in a manner that council intended. So we have presented the proposed amendments in a table for your review. And we've tried to break them down by section. So I'm actually just going to turn my camera off so I can face my monitor here. and you don't have to see the side of my head. So I guess kind of the heart of every land use bylaw is the definitions section. And the definitions section is intended to clarify how we're using words very technically in whether it's proposed use, whether it's a front yard, whether it's yeah, or regulation. So those are what the definitions are intended to do. Throughout our use of the land use bylaw in the last year, there was a number of definitions that we identified, or terms that were used throughout the land use bylaw that were not specifically clarified or defined in the bylaw. So as a result, it could result in inconsistent interpretation, or that the definition didn't provide sufficient guidance for the development authority to make a determination on a particular use. An example of that we've highlighted in our proposed amendments is the difference between a manufactured home and a modular home. So that's one of the definitions for a manufactured home that we've substantially beefed up, and I guess tried to clarify really what differentiates the two uses. As council knows, modular homes are typically look the same as any other single detached dwelling, whereas a manufactured home is a very specific type of use, and typically we would, previously have called them trailers. So we've included some definitions to try to help ongoing interpretation and how we've identified different things. And then we've also tried to identify and group specific types of uses. So in the current land use bylaw, for example, we defined apartment, and then we defined duplex, dwelling. So one of the exercises that we went through was going through and identifying similar types of uses like dwellings, and then defining them as dwelling, apartment, or dwelling, duplex, in order that all of the dwelling definitions are located in a similar area within the land use bylaw. So that was a substantial part of this process and this review. The next section that we looked at was the development permit decisions and procedures section. As council is aware, the Municipal Government Act requires that a development permit is required for all development in municipality unless the land use bylaw exempts it from requiring a development permit. So there is a list of types of development that do not require a development permit, and these are typically minor or smaller scale developments, such as small accessory buildings, or interior alterations, or things that are not within the municipality's purview for approval, such as pipelines, or things where higher level approvals take place. So one of the proposed amendments is that we are suggesting that development permit be required for work within existing structures, which are interior alterations, where that work would also require the landowner to obtain a building permit. And what this does is it allows the municipality an opportunity to review at the development permit stage sort of a change in use, or determine if there's a change in use that's happening, or if there's any other items that are requiring consideration when somebody's looking to do interior alterations. And the other significant change in this section is that we've clarified that where a development that does not require a development permit is proposed to be demolished, that no development permit is required to actually construct the demolition. So if it doesn't require a permit to go in, it doesn't require a permit to come out. Section 6 also clarifies and provides specific information about what has to be included in a development permit application that is submitted to the development authority. And this, I think, is beneficial for residents as well as the development authority, because they have a clear and reasonable basis for when they're asking for specific types of information be accompanied for specific types of for specific types of development. So an example here is that we have some provisions for renewable energy developments, but we didn't have any information in the land use bylaw about what was required to be accompanied with a submission for development permit for that. So we've added some clarification there. And then for some changes of use to help manage business licensing, and then outline what steps the development authority has to follow when issuing a development permit. And again, this I think provides clarification both to the development authority and to residents by providing clear steps and clear information requirements for submissions and what is going to happen when they submit an application. The next section that we identified for amendment was section 8, which is, I guess, the general land use provisions. And this section provides regulations and development permit requirements for different types of development, whether it's fencing or landscaping or decks, or whether it's specific uses such as childcare facilities or campgrounds. The proposed amendments that we identified here were fairly minor. There was an existing regulation that said accessory buildings in non-residential land use districts had to meet the same setback requirements as the principal building on the lot. And this, I guess, results in a substantial amount of area on the lot that is undevelopable. And in commercial or industrial land use districts, typically there's an incentive for landowners to try to utilize as much as the lot as possible. So we've identified that the accessory buildings can be closer than the principal building to the front, the side and rear yard setbacks. And I believe that's been set to about 1.2 meters. In addition, there was some regulations pertaining to shipping containers and how many shipping containers could be in each on a parcel in each land use district, but it didn't actually include regulations for the number of shipping containers that could be in institutional or non-residential districts. So we've identified some revisions to that table to clarify the number of shipping containers that can be in some of those other types of districts. I guess the substantial amendment to this section would be that we identified a new subsection here, and that pertains to moved-in buildings. And I think we're seeing more of these in more municipalities that I'm working in, as there's infill types of developments, and people are looking for ways to I guess maximize the value that they're getting for purchasing a lot, or if there's an older home on it, they don't necessarily want to demolish it if there's somebody willing to buy it, but they'd rather redevelop the site. So we are seeing an increase in moved-in buildings. We've added a new section there that provides some specific requirements, including requirements to provide pictures and a security deposit, in order that the development authority can get a good understanding of what types of structures are being moved into the municipality, and again, providing clear direction to development proponents of what the development officer is going to be asking for if they're submitting an application for a moved-in building. Section 9 of the land use bylaw contains regulations for parking. What we've done here is pretty small changes in that we've identified that when there's a change of use, which is a new development moving into an existing space, the requirements for hard surfacing and improvements to the parking lot are not going to be triggered. So, let's say somebody opens a new shop that's selling sports cards, and they're moving into an area that has a gravel parking lot. They're not stuck with a $30,000 bill to pave the parking lot just so they can sell sports cards. So there are some specific triggers that we included to identify when the development authority will ask for those improvements to take place, but typically, we're saying that when there's a change in use that, as long as it meets the requirements of the land use bylaw, we don't have, the development proponent doesn't have to go through significant upgrades. And there's also a section that included minimum width of a driveway, and we've just clarified and revised that section to be have the same requirements for a parking stall, so that the driveway requirements and parking stall requirements are the same, and I guess increases the consistency in interpretation of how that's applied. Section 11, there is a few different amendments here, and it divides the municipality up into different districts. One of the challenges that we've faced with this bylaw in the last year is that excavation, clearing, and grading was defined in a manner that indicated that it was a use, but the use was not listed in all of the land use districts. And so that created issues in districts where that use was not listed, because where a use is not listed as a permitted or discretionary use, the development authority is unable to approve a development permit for that use. So there was some complications that I guess arose over the last year as we identified that omission, and then so we've added that as a use to all land use districts as a discretionary use. In the C2 district and the C3 district, we've proposed to add automotive and equipment services into the C2 district as a discretionary use, and into the C3 district as a permitted use. And I guess the differences between the C2 and the C3 districts are just in intensity of use. So it's more appropriate as permitted use in the C3 district, which is a highly commercial district, as opposed to the C2 district, which the development authority is able to evaluate the adjacent uses and the proposed parcel and determine if it's an appropriate use in the C2 district. There was a typo in the C2 district in that there was a use identified as a permitted use that was retail major, but that use was not defined. So as a result, we've proposed to delete that use and add retail convenience, which is a defined use, to the C2 district. There was also, I guess, what I would primarily describe as numbering and just small typographical errors in the RMH and CBD district, where there was clarification that was required on specific setbacks. And then, they weren't numbered in a manner that was consistent with how things were numbered in the other existing land use districts. So I guess, as Mr. Kitlett said, these administrative errors, or not errors, administrative amendments are very typical, having used the land use bylaw for a period of time. We're never going to be able to think through all of the what ifs and what abouts when we're doing a comprehensive review of a land use bylaw, partly because otherwise we'd never get one written and adopted by council, and partly because when we're proposing changes, then the entire land use bylaw works is interconnected, and so small changes to one area sometimes result in unintended changes or unintended interpretations in other areas. So by being able to put the bylaw through day-to-day rigors of use and interpretation, that's where we're able to find areas for improvement. So these proposed amendments are intended to, I guess, provide some additional tools to the development officer and the development authority to interpret and apply the land use bylaw consistently, and then increase transparency regarding what information will be required by the town when residents are submitting development permit applications. And I'm just going to turn it over to Mr. Kitlitz quickly to touch on the Glenwood Live Work District.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a bit of an update on this. As council is aware, we had a commitment to bring back some proposed options for council to consider at the same time as this first year amendment. Admittedly, we are not as far along with that as we would have liked. Mr. Miller has done some research on other municipalities to see if we could find some examples that we could use here. It's a pretty unique situation that we have in this area, and if council will indulge us, I think what we'd like to do, I think a preferred course of action would be to, if we can hold off on that for a while longer. Right now we have an RFP out for our municipal development plan that closes on the 23rd of May. I'm asking that maybe we delay this till we're 3/4 of the way or almost on the MDP. Reason being, the MDP allows us to take a look at the neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods from a land use policy level. And that will help us, I think, do that engagement with the residents in a broader sense. That'll help inform a land use district for this area. It's quite complex. As council is aware, we have mixes of land use that typically aren't mixed, right? And so right now they still remain in the DC district, which allows council to render decisions on those. I don't think we've had any applications in that district over the last year. So we're asking that we hold on for a bit longer and take the opportunity that the NDP affords us to do some of that major engagement then. So that's the update I'd like to give, and certainly willing to hear council's feedback on that.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Miller, do you have anything else to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I don't. Just, I guess I would solicit any questions that council may have as a result of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Miller or administration? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thank you. Excuse me. Through the chair to administration, to administration or presenter. So in the item number 6, we talked about, or you mentioned the modular home versus the manufactured home, and noting that the manufactured home was kind of more of what we kind of call the trailer part or portion. So when I looked at the land use bylaw, we have the manufactured home listed in 2 locations, but we don't have modular home listed anywhere in any of our districts at all. So I guess I'm also wondering to the council is like, do we want to have that in there? I know we have had modular homes in our community even in the last couple of years, if we wanted that to be an option. So that's my first question. Maybe you just do one at a time. So
Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
If I can address that through the chair, the proposed definition for modular home, dwelling, modular home, means a single detached dwelling. So anywhere a single detached dwelling is listed as a permitted or discretionary use, a modular home would be considered a permitted or discretionary use and differentiated from a manufactured home in that way.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Sharon. We'll come back to you, Councillor Chachka.
I have 2 questions. Well, I'll do the first one and come back to me. I can't find in here, but you mentioned something about interior, like you doing an interior of a home, a development permit. Could you clarify that? Because I can't find it in here, and I'd like clarification on that.
Yes, through the chair. That is proposed amendment 13 in your booklet. And currently the regulation in the land use bylaw states that interior alterations, mechanical or electrical work on a building do not require a development permit. And the proposed amendment to that section would delete that existing wording and replace it with interior alterations, maintenance, electrical work, or mechanical work or repairs, if such alterations, maintenance, or repair do not constitute a structural change, change of use, or change of intensity of use, would not require a development permit. So if you're putting up a new wall in your house, but there's no structural change to the house, no development permit is required. But if you're looking to remove a load-bearing wall or conduct any structural alterations to your dwelling, you would come to the municipality for a development permit.
Okay, thank you. That was the clarification I was looking for.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard and Mr. Miller. Council, any further questions or comments for our presenters this evening? Councillor Chachka is good. You have another one there, Councillor Chenard? So mine is on page 15, section 19. It says, insert the following regulations in section 8.15. Number 6, no fences with barbed wire shall be allowed except in industrial M1 district and the urban reserve district. In these districts, barbed wire may be allowed, but not below the elevation of 1.8 meters above grade. And I guess my question is, why would we not allow this in the districts along the highway corridor? We have high value assets in that area with equipment and storage. And it's also one of our highest crime areas. I don't understand why we would not allow barbed wire fencing in these areas. I don't know if Mr. Miller or Mr. Kitlitz, if you have a response to that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to respond initially and then turn it over to Mr. Kitlitz. But I guess the standard areas that allow or permit barbed wire are typically industrial districts and areas that are not adjacent to highways, because it's typically not aesthetically pleasing. And so municipalities prefer and regulate other types of security requirements for those lots. If that's something this committee would like us to include in this district, speaking for myself, I would have be happy to entertain it with discussion internally with administration.
All right, thank you very much. It would be my preference to remove that restriction for the highway corridor. We are in a unique situation in our community, and we are an industrial town, so I think it's far more important that our property owners and business owners are protected from a security point of view. If I were to be frank, I wish we could actually electrify those fences, but we're not allowed to do that. So I'll take the barbed wire if that's allowed. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair, to whoever can answer question. Page 18, number 21, where you want to limit the number of shipping containers, where you mentioned, because we've talked about and discussed it in some residential settings, they actually fit depending on size and color and what they look like. But are we going to restrict in industrial areas? The only example I can think of is not in town, but it's right bordering town. An individual has about 16 sea cans nicely painted, all lined up, and they're used for storage purposes. And some businesses may choose to put in 10 or 12 sea cans, providing they're neat and they use them for different purposes. And like the mayor said, for security, because a sea can is more secure than, let's say, a wooden shed. So I just want more clarification on how we're going to restrict the numbers, especially in industrial areas.
Through the councillor to the councillor through the chair, we're actually not proposing any changes to the number of CCAN or shipping containers in business industrial districts. Currently, the land use bylaw allows up to 3 shipping containers as a permitted use in business industrial districts, and as a discretionary use for more than 3 shipping containers in business industrial districts as a discretionary use. And so that's been carried forward. No changes are being proposed. The area that we are proposing changes are the institutional district, which were not previously addressed in the current land use bylaw. And in institutional districts, such as a school site, for example, we actually are proposing the same regulations as in the business industrial district. So up to 3 shipping containers as a permitted use, and more than 3 shipping containers being a discretionary use. And then in other districts, such as the airport district or the urban reserve district, there is no proposed maximum number of CCANs, but it's listed as a discretionary use, so the development authority is able to exercise its judgment in issuing a decision on that application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Kitlitz, anything to add, or you're good? All right, thank you. Council, anything further for presenters this evening? Mr. Kitlitz, do you have what you need to move forward?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And obviously, we'll be scheduling a public hearing for this in middle of June and bring it back for first reading as well the next month. So, along with the amending bylaw.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Thank you, Mr. Miller and Ms. Darling. We'll move on to Draft Municipal Policing Committee Bylaw number 2322, presented by Enforcement Services Manager Eric Christensen. Come up, Mr. Christensen.
Bringing back the Municipal Policing Committee for consideration for the bylaw. Which one am I using? Just a little bit of background. We brought this back to you some time ago. Back in December 15th of 2022, the provincial government passed Bill 6 with the Police Amendment Act. And it was intended to increase police transparency and enhance public trust. In addition to other reforms, the legislation requires the formation of civilians, governance bodies for all municipalities in Alberta, so that communities can participate in setting police priorities and performance goals. Municipalities are mandated to participate in either a regional or create their own municipal policing committee. All the municipalities in our region, which is the West Region, have chose to opt out of the policing committee for regional and establish their own municipal policing committees. The minister may appoint one member for every 3 members. The committee will consist of not fewer than 3 members and not more than 7 members appointed by council. And basically, they are liaising with the RCMP to recommend to council local policing priorities. So with that, I brought a few options to council, and I'll let you vote or speak about each one after I'm finished with it. So the first one is the amount and number of members on our committee. Regulations indicate that municipal policing committee be set up between 3 to 7 members. Minister may appoint 1 member for every 3 members. A youth council member is allowed if over the age of 16, but is in a non-voting capacity and would not take place of an appointed member. With this, administration is recommending pursuing option 2 of 5 members.
Do you just want questions on that piece for now?
Yeah.
Okay. Council, any questions on that? Comments? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to, council and Mr. Christensen. I'm fine in terms of a youth councillor sitting on the policing committee. I would like to see it sort of a rotating position. We have a number of youth councillors, and just having just one student or youth sitting on it for the year, but having it rotating, if that's within the bylaw permitted, like, is that the way it's worded right now?
So through the chair to Councillor Taylor, there is no regulations on youth members. It just indicates that they can be on there. They have to be over the age of 16, but they're non-voting. So whatever council chooses to use that position for, they're more than welcome to rotate it through or just have one person on it.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to have it rotating through so we get a variety of experience and different youth get to participate. I don't know whether this is now to, maybe it is. When you talk about the minister appointing 1 for every 3, can you explain that process of who the minister is appointing? Is it still someone from our community? Is it somebody else? What's the process on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor, there has been no indication what the minister's choice is. It just, the legislation indicates that they can and may issue 1 person for every 3. Nobody's really had any indication from the minister on that process.
Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to council and Mr. Christensen. So I'm okay with the 5 members that administration has proposed. I did have a question about the minister appointment. That definitely is interesting. And I also agree with the youth counselor being rotated. I think that's fine. And it's a public meeting anyways, so I don't think that there's any issue with that. I do have a question though, is the counselors that would be appointed, I think you guys have recommended 2 members.
That would be the, yes.
So would they have an alternate that is a voting alternate, or do you know how that is proposed to be set up?
Through the chair to Councillor Chachka. They have to be, the term is either 3 years maximum, but can be down to 2 years. So it's not rotating, it would be appointed through your process, through.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair to Mr. Christian. Mine same idea with the 5, so it's 2 council members, 3 public at large. My thing is, have we made it up? Because I think we talked before, it'd be nice to involve the county and the town if we make up a commission. So we're doing it solely on our own.
Through the chair to Councillor Chenard, it is only municipal, the town of Edson. We are not part of the county. That's part of the provincial policing committee.
Okay, so then that was my question, 2 councillors, so I'm fine with the 5 in youth council, so you've answered my question, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
And through the mayor to council and administration, I know this is a topic that we have talked about in terms of appointing members to different boards and committees, of looking at whether, I hate to call it an interview process, but certainly a sit down and discussion with anybody who is applying for any, not only this committee or board, but any committee or board. They would just simply have a discussion with them. Sometimes what you read on paper, whether it is the applicant or the applicant even applying, and what they read on paper, what the board and committee is, having a simple discussion with them to explain what they're doing, what the process is, what their role would be, I think is an important part. I know that we, in the future, are looking at sort of policy or bylaw changes in terms of that, but to include that as a part of the process when the time comes, just to sit down and meet those members who wish to join. So those are my comments there.
Thank you. Council, any further questions or comments? So I have a few, Mr. Christian. I guess we'll start with kind of what Councillor Chenard mentioned, Yellowwood County. In meeting with the minister, Mr. Wagstaff and I met with, I think it was it with you, Mr. Wagstaff? Or no, it's Mr. Kitlitz. Sorry, Mr. Kitlitz. It's a while ago. When we met with the minister, he did indicate, or Deputy Minister Zablocki indicated that while we cannot have a Yellowwood County member appointed, they can come as an observer. So I may recommend or suggest that we allow for Yellowwood County to appoint a member as an observer only. I think it's really important. Our detachment serves not just the town of Edson. Crime knows no borders. We know this system, how they have it set up, is kind of ridiculous. And I think that communication is key to keep our county partners involved. They are paying for policing positions at the detachment, and it's up to them whether or not they want to send somebody. Of course, they'll be non-voting. They're not allowed to vote according to the law or the regulations set forth, but I think it's important to have them involved. Under Section 4, Duties and Responsibilities, 4.3, it says assisting in the selection of the officer in charge. I guess, what is the definition, or what does assisting mean? I think it's kind of, hate to say weak language. Several years ago, the community was completely bypassed in the hiring of the detachment commander, and it was appointed by the RCMP with zero consultation. So I would like to see maybe a little bit stronger language there, if possible, to say that we will be involved in the selection of the officer in charge. Assisting, I think, is a bit weak in terms of the language that could get skirted around, and I think it's important that the community has some sort of input into that.
Okay.
That question's been answered. Under 5.15, the administrative liaison will provide town information or records to the committee about matters within its mandate. Will they also be responsible for taking the minutes, or is that somebody else's responsibility? Because I don't see that indicated.
Through the mayor to, or through the council, chair to council, yes, that would be part of our liaison would be by the town, so.
Okay. And finally, under section 7.2, council may revoke a member's appointment to the committee for cause, and particularly when the member, and it comes through the list of reasons. It does say under section D is convicted of a crime under the Criminal Code of Canada, but it doesn't mention any charges if somebody is facing charges. Should there be a clause in there that if somebody is facing charges that they are suspended until a ruling is made? I'm just thinking about the sensitive nature of some of the things that are going to be dealt with. I think it could put the committee in a precarious situation until those matters are resolved. And we have seen in some other communities where they have policing commissions, this is a committee, but policing commissions where there has been some challenges with that. So any comments on that?
Through the chair to council, I'd have to look it through the regulations and legislation, but I can absolutely take a look at that, that wording in there to see if that falls into there.
Okay, thank you very much.
If it's a wish of the council to add that in there, I will look at that.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Christensen. I mean, I know Mayor Zahara just brought it up, but I don't know if it was coming later about the officer in charge and appointing the officer or assisting with that process of the officer in charge. What is and maybe I don't realize this, what is the current process that is used in terms of bringing, I don't know how much say council has, the current staff sergeant, what we have predates me being on council, so I don't know what that process is.
Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Thank you through the mayor to deputy to Councillor Taylor. Just adding a new title to you this evening. I would have to actually look into that as far as what the process is. I haven't been involved in that in other municipalities, and I do know that from our discussions previously, earlier on this year, that the town would be at the table to help make that decision, and that was through the higher levels with regards to the RCMP. So, but I would be happy to bring that back to council for information.
Just to Councillor Taylor's question, so a number of detachment commanders ago, the town was snubbed in the process, even though they are supposed to include the town. This last time, the town was involved. The CAO at the time was involved in the hiring of the detachment commander, was involved in the interview process. So things have shifted over time, but I want to ensure that they don't shift back the other way. To ensure that and we've been very fortunate. We've had a fantastic detachment commander here, but other communities I know have had challenges with that. I think it depends what those relationships are with the RCMP, and that determines exactly how involved they are. And luckily, we have a really good working relationship. So, all right. Any other further questions or comments, Councillor Moore?
Through the chair to Mr. Christensen, members who couldn't make the live meeting, would they be allowed to go onto Zoom to do this, or would they have to be present?
I believe in person.
Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Through the mayor to Councillor Moore, through the meeting procedures bylaw, it's up to the committee to determine the virtual arrangement in which the committee wants to proceed with. So essentially, we do have this bylaw as far as that sets the parameters for the committee, but there are rules that the committee can make as far as, it depends on the location as well and the technology that's available. So that's something that can be discussed.
Councillor Jochka.
Thanks. Through the chair to council or the committee and Mr. Christensen. So on number 6.1 regarding training and expenses, so council is going to have to set the budget as they do for all their committees. And then it says within the budget, the committee members may be eligible to attend training, subject to review and approval of the chair in consultation with the administrative liaison. So does that mean that the chair is deciding whether or not that the other members get to go on training and approve that expense, or is that something that's decided as a whole amongst all the members? So the way I read that, and then 6.1c says the chair must consult with the administrative liaison before committing to an expense. So just the way I read that, it means that the chair is the one in control in deciding, and is that is that normal? Or would that be something that the entire group would get to have, I guess, discussion and voting privileges on that?
Mr. Christensen?
Through the chair to Councillor Chachka. I'm a loss for words on this one. I would have to review it here through the legislation and the regulations and our meetings bylaw to answer that question. I'm not 100% sure.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. I think it's up to us to determine how that process works. Following whatever regulation Mr. Christensen can do research on, but typically the way that we have operated is that the committee or the council decides what training people go on, and if there is a member that wants to attend a training session, just like around this table, you chat with the chair, and then it's brought forward to the committee for ratification. So for consistency's sake, I think you're probably right, Councillor Chachka, that will the same process be followed for that, and that the administration liaison would be able to update the committee on exactly how many dollars are available for such training. Anything else, Council? Anything else, Mr. Christensen?
Not on that one.
All right.
We pretty much talked about the next slide on the number of council members and members of the public, which we're recommending 2 council and 3 members of the town of Edson, so members at large. So I think we can pretty much skip this one here and go on to the next one. So the next one is remuneration. So remuneration is an option based on the regulation. However, it is up to the municipality. Administration is recommending pursuing option 2, that the municipal policing committee does not receive remuneration.
Council, any questions or comments or concerns on that? No.
Okay, so our next steps our next steps are to we'll create the municipal policing committee bylaw to be presented at either the next committee of the whole or our next council meeting. We'll produce and create procedures manual to be completed once the bylaw is approved, and timing to activate a committee is chosen. Recruitment, including enhanced criminal record checks, and education and training will need to take place.
All right, perfect. Council, anything further for Mr. Christensen? Thank you very much for your work on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Aaron Larson, Human Resources Manager, on the Draft Council Remuneration and Expense Policy L-C-1-A and Council Remuneration Expenses Procedure L-C-1-AP. And we'll hand things over to Mr. Brett Hawken, our interim General Manager of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight we'll have a presentation from Hillcrest. They're the consultant who did the detailed review of the council remuneration. This research includes comparisons from other municipalities, industry best practices, and will help inform you guys on future decisions on this matter. Following Hillcrest's presentation, our Human Resources Manager, Aaron, will provide a brief follow-up to address questions that were raised during the last council discussion on this topic. But before I introduce Hillcrest, I want to take a few moments to explain how we selected the 10 municipalities that were used as comparators for this study. This context will help clarify the metrics that were used in this analysis to ensure that we're all aligned on the basis moving forward. So the 10 municipalities that were used were Yellowhead County, Town of Hinton, Town of Whitecourt, Town of Olds, Town of Morinville, City of Brooks, City of Lacombe, Town of Drayton Valley, Town of Blackfalds, and Town of Tabor. So these 10 municipalities were selected using the Provincial Municipal Indicator portal. So within this portal, they created an index called the Municipal Measurement Index. And the 3 main factors that are used to calculate this index are equalized assessment, population, and geographical size. So when you take those three, they give everyone a index factor. So our number was 80. So the province then recommends you take the 10 closest above your 80 and the 10 closest below your 80. Well, that gives us 20. That's a lot to compare to. So in order to narrow it down to 10, I have to credit finance. They looked at 4 different financial factors to get a closer comparable. So they looked at total tax revenue, total expenses, total spending on staff, wages and benefits, and spending on contracted services. So, and then the last factor that we used was geographic location, hence, so what's in our region, which is why Yellowhead County is in there. Because if you look at the other factors, obviously Yellowhead County wouldn't be there, but they're our neighbor. We compete with them for talent. There's reasons that we kept them in there. So, with that being said, that's the rationale of how we got our comparables. That's the rationale of why we chose them for this study. So before I hand it over to Hillcrest, I wanted to ask if you had any questions around the comparables and why we chose them.
Council, any questions regarding the comparables? Thank you very much for that very thorough explanation. Appreciate that.
No problem. I will hand it over to Hillcrest.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors and administration. So you would have remembered me from the last session that we had, and I'm going to try to share my screen here. I just want to remind you about page 5 in your report. And that should be it. That should be the one. Okay. There. Can you all see the document?
We can see the document. It's
perfect.
pretty small for us to see, but
Is it?
it's up on the
Okay.
screen.
I don't know how to make it bigger.
It's in our
that?
package, so we can follow along in
Okay.
the package.
Yeah, so on page 5 of the initial report, we showed you the difference between the posted rate or the policy rates and between all of the municipalities for 2024 and 2025. And that was intentional so that we could gather the financial information for 2024. And so here you'll see that the 50th percentile for the mayor's honorarium is 49.90, and the councillors is 22.26. And so that resulted in the mayor's rate for 2025, at least, being 10.1 below the median, and the councillor honorarium was 2.4 above. So I'm going to stop that share because I have some other documents that I wanted to chat with you about.
Just to interrupt you there for a second. I just want to clarify that information is not in our agenda package. So I don't know if you can bring that up again and somehow make it larger so we can actually see it.
It should be, do you have the original report that we submitted for the last meeting?
Yes, we do.
Okay, it's on page 5 of that
Okay,
original
perfect.
report. Yeah. I apologize, it's not in your package this evening. So I want to share this document with you. How's the size on that? I tested this earlier and
It's pretty small for us to see in here. I don't know if you can make it bigger. There we go.
how's that?
If you bottom right, there should be a magnifying glass.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, down there. Yeah, right there. I think you can make it
There?
bigger. Yeah, just keep clicking it to make it bigger.
It's asking me it wants me to write a message. I'm sorry about that. How's that?
This is actually in our package, so we're okay.
Oh, is it? Okay. So I just want to draw to your attention the graph. So if you take a look at participant 1, that's the town of Edson. So you can see that the mayor's honorarium based on the policy rate and the second bar is, or first bar, I'm sorry, is the total remuneration rate. And the second bar, the lighter blue bar, is actually the policy rate. So you can see that they're very close together. And the reason for that is the fact that Edson doesn't pay any of the benefit premiums if any of the elected officials choose to enroll in those benefits. And the only difference that those bars make is going to be the taxable benefit on the mandatory withholdings. And the same for the counselors. You can see the bars are very close together. So you'll notice in participant 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, and 10, those municipalities provide their elected officials with benefits, and they also participate in the cost share. And it's and you'll see in that original report, some of the participants actually pay 100% of the cost of the benefits for their elected officials. And so that's where some of that difference comes in. The one closest to the town of Edson is participant number 5. They don't provide any benefits for their elected officials, and nor do they pay any per diems. And so those bars, again, are very close together. If we turn and take a look at participants 6 and 7, here's where the differences tend to be exaggerated between what the policy rate says and what the total remuneration financial reports say. So participant 6 is a municipality that pays meeting fees. And by that, I mean their honorarium covers meeting with the public and council review of the agenda, but it doesn't take into consideration actual attendance at council meetings. And so those elected officials are paid a per diem or a meeting fee to attend those meetings. And so that's where you see the variance in the policy rate versus what the 2024 financial statements say. And the same with number 7. They have meeting rates, and they also pay some allowances for vehicles and other perquisites. So you'll see number 7 has a significant variance from the policy rate to the 2024 rate provided. And 11 is similar to Edson as well. This is one that didn't participate in the original report, but did provide us with the 2024 financial information. So I'm not well versed in their policy, but I expect that they're very similar to Edson, where they're not offering benefits or there's no uptake on benefits, and their per diems are very, very limited. The next chart that I wanted to show you is the total remuneration analysis, and I'm hoping you can see this, but maybe not.
Yeah, we can't really see it on the screen. It's too small.
I can't, yeah, I just
This
don't
one's
know
in
how to
our package though.
Is it in your package?
Yeah, it's the last
Perfect.
page, page
I'm
13.
sorry, my apologies. So the total remuneration for 2024 gives a very different picture from the policy rate. And again, if you revert back to the page 5 in the original report, you're going to see that the 50th percentile on the policy rate is $4,990 for the mayor. And here, based on the total remuneration, it's $6,512 to the 50th percentile. Similarly, council, the 2024 rate on the policy is 22.26, and we see it here at 33.49. So we were asked to do some calculations on behalf of the town of Edson, and at the 50th percentile, obviously based on the chart above, the mayor's rate on total remuneration would be 6,512, and council rate would be 3,349. And that takes you right to the 50th percentile. With one qualifier, I will say, because your actual rate or your total remuneration is very, very close to what your policy rate is, that would be the 50th percentile with a few dollars less for the taxable benefits on the mandatory withholdings. If you were to consider shortening up the gap to the 50th percentile by 50%, so it's half of the movement to the 50th percentile. It would bring the mayor's rate to 5,595, and you would then be at the 36th percentile. With counselors, if you wanted to close the gap to 50%, it would be 3,020, and that would put the counselors at the 40th percentile rather than the stated 50th in your policy. If you choose to do nothing and you maintain the rates, the mayor would be at the 10th percentile, and it sounds, well, it's 10th percentile, 90% are paid higher than the mayor in your comparator group. The counselors would be at the 20th percentile at 2,696 per month. And so that shows what the impact of the meeting rates are versus what the policy rates are. And I'm open to any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. I don't know if there's anything you want to supplement, Mr. Larson, at all, or are you good?
No, nothing else to add.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Larson. Council will open the floor to questions to our presenter here this evening. Questions, comments? Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair to whoever can answer the question. So if I'm understanding this right, in 2025, the mayor is at 54,700 per year and councillors are at 31,500. Am I correct in saying those numbers?
Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
You are correct, Councillor Chenard.
I do appreciate the work you did and bringing it forward. And I always say I'm from Edson, so I don't care what the other communities, meaning that the other communities are different tax sets like that. I feel the rate we're getting now is reasonable. Like we get a cost of living increase, and most of the councils sitting around the table, we're not in it for the money, but this money is simply here. So if most of us have jobs, so if you lose wages through your employment, this is money to reimburse you for loss of wages. So I appreciate your work, but what we're getting paid now, I'm 100% satisfied. You know, every year if we put a cost of living, that is fine, but I like the numbers we got right now.
Thank you, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to the committee and administration. So, Councillor Chenard, I would have to respectfully disagree with you that the remuneration that we're receiving here isn't just, you know, in case we lose our wages in another role. The compensation that we receive is based on the effort and the flexibility and the dedication that is required in this role. That is what remuneration is for. We have been getting some small cost of living increases in the past couple of years. That was how we decided a few years ago to do it, and we decided to increase it because the mayor was at the 10th or something or 15th percentile at that time, one of the lowest paid mayors in Alberta, and I don't think anybody does this for the money because it's not that much. And if you have another job, you don't get to take vacations. This is your vacation. So I don't think that doing for the money, I think that's kind of oversaid. But I think people need to be compensated fairly for the time and flexibility that's required for this role. We have evening meetings, we have daytime meetings, we have weekend meetings. Like you have to go to different provinces for meetings, right? There's a lot of flexibility that is required in this role. And then you're away from your family during those times as well. Anyway, so that's my rant about that. I do have a question though for administration. I know you guys did the same kind of thing, but for the staff. What is the staff percentile at? Do we have an answer for that?
Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Through the mayor to Councillor Chachka, we have received the report, and I can confidently say that we're at the 50th percentile at this point. So we are at the place where council has deemed the direction for the staff to be at for compensation.
Thank you, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Just to follow up on that, I don't think that we should be in a higher percentile than our staff, but I don't think it's unfair to be in the same. So those are my thoughts. I know at the previous meeting we had about this, we talked about the assessment what was it, assessment values, was that it? Right, the equalized assessment, and that information was provided, and I did look at those communities to see if we just use those communities. I think there were 4 of them that kind of closely matched us, and it was actually surprising. So their remuneration is actually higher than the 50th percentile. So I would not recommend going in that direction. I would. My recommendation is to go with the 50th percentile on the presentation. That would be less than the equalized assessment. So comparators, I guess. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to committee, I've struggled with this. This is my first process in terms of deciding what compensation would be, other than like maybe other people at this table have done it a few times through, and deciding how much we're worth to do this, right? The challenge with the 50 percentile, and I'm not disagreeing that it shouldn't be, is that it's a jump. It's a big jump. And I don't know how to get there in small increments, because by the time you get there in small increments, then you're still well below the 50th percentile. So I do think that doing a big jump is perhaps too much, and looking at ways of doing it, I'm saying smaller, but still perhaps getting towards that 50 percentile, just maybe not creep along to it. Because, you know, according to the comparators, that's the fair assessment of what counselors do, right? I've often said, like, and Councillor Chachka and Councillor Chenard both indicated this, no one's in this for the money. You're not, but it also at the same time shouldn't cost you anything either. And at times when you do take that time off of work, it costs you. It does. So there's something to consider that in terms of doing this job. So, you know, looking at some sort of increment plan towards that 50th percentile instead of making a 1-year jump is sort of my preference. I don't know how we get there without still being behind is my challenge to that. I wonder if those small increments over the years that we've taken over the last 10 years has just put us so far beneath it now. The one good thing about this policy, unlike other levels of government, which can take their increases in salary immediately, at this level of government, it comes into play after the election. So if there are individuals who disagree with that, then you can put your name on the ballot, and maybe the first thing you do is lower that. And that's your prerogative, I guess. So it's one thing I've always appreciated about municipalities. So that's my comments on this.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to Councillor Taylor. So I think just to follow up on your question about how do we make that jump, if I remember correctly, last term we were in a similar predicament. And of course, so this is 2024, but I think last time it was like the previous year before that, right? So it was kind of, the data was a few years old already, and then we were still, even with that data, we were still behind. So I think we took it over 2 years. I think we kind of crept it up a little bit. And then that was why we added that clause in to have that kind of incremental gain, was so we wouldn't be so far behind the next time, because we kind of wanted to avoid that, but we didn't really know what that would look like either, right? But with that being said, I think we did increase the mayor remuneration a little bit faster, because he was, well, right now he's in the 10th percentile and the council's in the 20th. It was, I think, a little bit of the spread was worse at that time. So we did kind of creep that up a little bit more because that was what we felt was fair at that time. But I'm opening, if it's, I don't know what kind of administrative burden it is, but to do that over a span of 2 years or something, right? So that way you're not, hurting the budget so bad. I wouldn't disagree with that either.
Thank you. Any other further comments? Councillor Moore, do you have anything to add? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Well, in many ways, I agree with Councillor Taylor. This time is money, I guess somebody once said, and you know, some of us do have a lot of meetings such that amount to a lot of time. But you know, right now we get a cost of living usually each year, and I'm fairly satisfied with that. But I mean, you know, as Councillor Taylor said, we don't get a lot of money for this, and some of us wanted to be on council. I know years ago when I was working for the newspaper, I wanted to be on council, but it was a conflict of interest, so I shied away from that. But of course, that job ended, as a lot of jobs do, and then I thought one day, why don't you run for council? And so here I am. But you know, yeah, we you know, council does put in a lot of time in various meetings, but you know, I've lived here for 36 years now, and I'm proud to be on council, and regardless of what the payment might be, you know, I'm grateful for everything, basically.
All right, thanks for that, Councillor Moore. So I'll just make my comments here. So not surprised by the numbers, to be honest with you. And Councillor Chachka is right. The last time that we did it, we actually did it during our term because there was no review done before the previous election, which was unfortunate. And the data at that time showed us way behind comparators. And I said at that time, and I'll say at this time, there are communities out there that are paying outrageous amounts of money for the positions on council. Being on council is a privilege. It's an important role, a super important role for your community. You know, I was a councillor before becoming the mayor, and the role has changed a lot in the last 15 years. With social media, with the level of expectation, the demand for services, the provincial government downloading, the amount of meetings, the amount of meeting requests, just this week alone is just crazy to meet on all kinds of different issues, half of which have nothing to do with municipal government, but we're filling gaps where we shouldn't be filling gaps, unfortunately. So it's important that there is compensation. It's important that people's time is valued. But it's also important that people are running for the position on council for the right reasons, and they're not doing it just solely for the money. And I'm afraid, I think in some communities, that's what happens when you have rates that are really high. You know, so if I look at the 50th percentile for the mayor at 78,144, having done the role for the last 7 years now, that's ridiculous. I think that's really high. I don't think that is necessary, but I also think that 54,700 is ridiculous as well, especially with the amount of daytime meetings and days off that people have to take. So we have to find the happy medium. I do like the suggestion of doing it incrementally over time. You know, and I guess it's how do we get there, and not put ourselves having the same conversation 4 years from now that we're at the 15th or the 10th or whatever. So I guess my recommendation would be, and this is the other piece to this is for the incoming council. So if those that are choosing to run again are fortunate, they'll be able to get that. If they don't run or they're not successful, they won't. But other communities are also doing these reviews right now. So they're going to be setting their rates, and they're probably going to be doing increases as well. So we have to be cognizant of that. To me, for us to jump from 54,000 to 78,000 for the mayor, I think is a big leap. I don't think it's such a big leap for the council just because the dollar amounts are a little bit smaller. So maybe my recommendation would be through to administration and see what the table sees fit, is that that we do move to the 50th percentile. I think that's a good baseline. I think that's a fair baseline based on the size of our community, and it keeps us similar to what we do as an organization. But implement maybe council over the course of 2 years and the mayor over the course of 3 years or something to that effect. And so that the budget hit is not significant going into year one, and that rate slowly increases. I also would say that based on the numbers I'm seeing here today, the exceptional pay should be completely removed. There's no need for that if we are taking that big of an increase, especially for the mayor. So that's my kind of position on it. This is not a comfortable conversation to have, but unfortunately, this is the system that we have before us. And I guess that's my thoughts. Happy to hear what council has to say.
Oh, yeah, through the mayor, to your comment, hopefully we won't run into this problem in a few years' time. We probably will. Because we don't control what other municipalities are going to do. And that's perhaps been the issue as well, as you're right, Mayor Zahara, that some other municipalities, you see it, those are really wild and extraordinarily wages that the councils or compensation that they're getting. And, I even look at it, and I know you brought the point over 2 years, I would be fine for council remuneration to happen over 3 years as well. And getting close to the 50th percentile. There is something to be said too, using 50th percentile, but also something to be said to say, if you're doing this, maybe we even go to the 48th or the 45th percentile and look at those other municipalities and say the 7 people we have at this table are actually here for the right reasons. We're not actually here to make the money, right? We actually, according to the 50th percentile, we actually take a little cut. And then we're here for the right reasons. So I would even look at it over, because again, I certainly want to avoid the big hit, the hit on budget, the hit to the taxpayer, and do it over 3 years. And to the council in 4 years, to Mayor Zahara's point, hopefully you're not doing this again, but you probably will. And we'll probably end up being still low, but maybe that's a good thing as well. As to the compensation, exceptional compensation, I'm fine with removing that as well if we're increasing this. I do want to comment on the deputy mayor, covering certainly if the mayor is incapacitated or running for the leadership of the Green Party or whatever he's planning on doing. The wording for the deputy mayor is fine. I think, though, the compensation should be, if they are sort of filling in the position of mayor, then the pay the mayor's rate. That's it. For as long as they are in that position, because typically in that position, the mayor would not be receiving any compensation at that time for whatever reason. So that's those are my comments there.
CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to council, or to committee, I wanted to bring to light to note, again, these are 2024 financial statement numbers that we're using, just a reminder. Number 2 is that in this proposed policy that you have before us, takes away that of utilizing of the financial statements, and you're able to use the current numbers of that particular comparators that we're using for future. So we noted this within our process, that it was actually a challenge, as we noted, with Barb working through trying to get the numbers, because essentially we're working through year end, and there are municipalities, it's horrible timing to gather that information. And I actually had to go to the CAOs of the other communities to ask for their data before their financial statements were approved. And that's just what we had to do. So removing that will also just allow us to have the data more quickly, as well as in just not utilizing the financial statement numbers. And that's, I think I wanted to also clarify just for, to make sure that I was confident in what I shared, but I was thinking back to how I shared with regards to staff at the 50 percentile, most are at 50 percentile. We have some work to do in some areas, but I just wanted to be clear. We're not perfect in all of the areas with the compensation where we're at, and I wanted to make sure that council was aware of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Council, do you have any further questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Councilor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to the committee. I'm also okay with having the exceptional compensation per diems taken out. We didn't use it last time, and if there was an agreement to go to the 50th percentile, then it's likely not necessary. But I do think the deputy mayor per diem needs to remain.
All right, thank you. Do you need anything further from us? Mr. Hawken.
Through the chair, I will pass that to Aaron if there's anything from your presentation that you're looking for further.
No, thank you for the discussion. Everything that we've talked about, it kind of touches on every piece that I had for those 3 remaining items. We can definitely look at multi-year increase. If that's the preference for council, we can do that. Removal of the exceptional pay seems to be consensus. We can work on that as well. And the deputy mayor pay, just to tweak the wording to just make sure that it is the mayor's rate of pay if it has to happen.
That is correct.
Perfect.
Perfect.
I'll save you some time with the presentation because thank you for
All right.
taking care of that for me.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Larson. And thank you, everybody, for your work on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will move on to something a little more fun to talk about. Mr. Wagstaff always bringing us the good news with the YCE multiplex facility update. Well, I shouldn't say that because he's going to come up with a budget update next week. So go ahead, Mr. Wagstaff.
Oh, thank you. Just a bit of an update. Do want to review a little bit as well for both council and the public to be aware of who is involved in this project in our community. Of course, it is a partnership between ourselves with the town of Edson and our partners at Yellowhead County. Hired, now it's a couple of years ago, a project manager with Tango Management. Who is guiding us through and working with our other contractors through this project. Of course, major part of that is design and engineering with GEC Architecture. We have also in the background been consulting along the way with BTY Group, ensuring that we're getting cost analysis as well as just being able to have that double check on both the architecture as well as the construction on the pricing that's going on, and being able to have that confidence in the numbers as they come through and what we can expect moving forward. And of course, as we see on the ground, our construction manager and Clark Builders, as we'll continue to see more and more of both their sub-trades as well as their own employees, literally being in the community for the next couple of years as they build. And the other part, very important part, is our permitting authority, which we use the inspections group. So I just wanted to review that just so that we understand that there's a big team working on this project, and they're equally excited with us as we are in the town and the county. And of course, the update is we're seeing, I'm certain, I know there are some around the table, and I'm certain there's a few in the gallery that just make their trip around the leisure center just to see the progress day by day. And as the days go on, we're going to see more progress change day by day. But of course, the construction manager, Clark Builders, has mobilized on site. They do have their site trailers there. The construction zone is, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, it has been established on the north end of the site. There is the drainage management, as we have done some site prep. You have to just make sure that even in the construction time that the water flows where it should and doesn't go where it shouldn't, as well as the storm pond excavation is underway. There was literally a bunch of pounding going on over the last week as they were doing some piling testing, and that's going to commence full bore in the coming days. Foundation work is going to be beginning soon with the gymnasium and the pool, as well as the set for the first half of the lobby, which would be the connection to the new pool to the existing buildings. Next week, we do have a pool closure. That is to be able to do some maintenance to create the temporary facility entrance. It'll be over the next 18 months to 2 years. That entrance that'll go through the pool, and then that'll be the entrance for the arena for the next several months. And next week, we do have an official groundbreaking ceremony on May 21st. So the community is going to be invited. Those will be going out on social media as well as the newspaper, which comes out today. So it's that invite is in the paper there. And dignitaries, both councils will be gathering. We have confirmed, given as long as some ministerial duties don't pop up, our MLA, Martin Long, will also be joining us for that ceremony. Procurement and tendering schedule. Just things are moving along quite steadily. And this does lead to the comment that the mayor had made that there will be a budget update next week that will be leading towards confidence in where the budget is going to land by the first week of June. So we do have a budget update and some expectations that are in the tenders that are remaining in the next couple of weeks. Number of these have already been awarded, as you can see, in the work that we had just talked about that is being completed currently, and what is about to begin. So concrete, major equipment, and the early procurement pieces are open right now. They are closing. I'm just trying to remember what date we are here. We're already in May. They're closing this week and next week, and then the tender package number 5 will be closing in the first week of June. That does remain the remaining scope, which does, looks like a large portion, but the pieces that they're able to really nail down are the critical pieces that might have some fluctuation to them. They're getting those out and completed now. As I had mentioned about just a reminder to where the construction zone is and where it's going to be here shortly. This is where the construction zone is currently. Once the entrance is completed next week, so that we can have that, it's not a secondary entrance, it's going to be the new main entrance for the next year and a half. Then they will also shift, they will complete the parking lot on the north side, which will be the temporary portion of the parking lot, so that they can begin to do the site work for the new arena space and continue to do the work on the new pool and gymnasium. And then there is not yet the final graphic when they'll be doing the demolition of the pool. So they're waiting to see how things unfold with that, and they're going to just finalize those closer to the time when they'll be opening the new pool and demolishing the old pool. And that is the update for this month. And as the mayor has alluded to, there will be an update provided to both councils next Tuesday with regards to a budget update.
Thank you, Mr. Wagstaff, for your presentation. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to you, Mr. Wagstaff. So when we're going to switch our entrances around and the construction zones are kind of going to be flipped, where the trees were removed and it's going to be parking, what's going to be the surface of the parking lot there?
Through the mayor to Councillor Chachka and all of council, it's going to be gravel initially, and so that's until as a cost-saving measure, they wanted to ensure that when they brought in Immobilized to do pavement, that was all when it was all ready.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chachka. Councillor Taylor.
Oof. All right, through the mayor to Mr. Wagstaff, you pointed to some of the tenders being awarded. Within those tenders and within the current contractors, how many of the contractors do we have so far that are local companies? I know that initially we had a few doing some of the initial work, ripping down trees and stuff like that. Do you know how many sort of local contractors we have that are going to be sort of either working on it or set to work on the multiplex?
So I am going from memory because that has not changed since a month ago when we updated it. So I believe there was four subcontractors that were from Edson directly, and another 2 that we would consider regionally, Drayton Valley area as well. So that has not changed since the last update a month ago.
Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Through the chair to Mr. Wagstaff, to those who aren't in the know of what a storm pond does, what does a storm pond do?
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Through the chair to all of council, this is a dry pond, so it's not going to be holding water. It's going to be on major rain events. The drainage from the site will then drain into the holding pond and then seep into Wass Creek, and then empty out.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
Through the mayor to Mr. Wagstaff, what Councillor Cheska said, so it's gonna be gravel, are we gonna put in some kind of wash rock, or are we just gonna, because when it rains, we know what's gonna happen to the gravel. So, and you briefly talked about, because that will be a parking lot, the reason why they're not paving it first? Like, if it's gonna be a parking lot, why didn't they pave it versus gravel temporarily?
So through the chair to Councillor Chouinard, I'll have to get back to you on the specifics to what materials they're going to be using in the temporary parking lot. I am just going to go back, if that can come up, so I can show that the reason for that is it's only a portion of the parking lot that's going to be the temporary parking lot. There's still going to be the extension across the north side, which is still in the construction zone. So instead of mobilizing for a small parking lot and then mobilizing again to do the entire parking lot, the intention was to do a graveled parking lot. And as I mentioned, I will get back to council on the details as to what types of materials. And what I was referring to was, you can see that temporary part is just just the northwest corner, but the parking plan goes all the way across that north stretch to connect to 48th.
Thank you, Mr. Wagstaff. And also, knowing our soil conditions here, we want that packed down, and giving it time to settle and all that sort of thing will make it a much better parking lot in the end, having that gravel there. So, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Wagstaff. Just one more question regarding the parking, and that is the handicap stalls and mobility users. What will be the process for them?
Through the chair to Councillor Chachka and all council, I don't have that slide up here, but in the final parking plan, there's the identified areas, which you would just see currently actually over top of where the existing pool is. But there's a number of handicapped accessible parking that are in close proximity to the new main entrance.
And for the temporary parking, there will be close parking for those that are...
There would as well, those ones that would be identified. We did bring in some temporary signs for the trade show to add some additional, and we're going to be utilizing those temporary signs as well.
All right, thank you. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? I'm one of the people that drives around 3 times a day, having a look, see what's going on. So, yeah, no, it's great to see it. And you see not only the subcontractors that have been hired through the tendering process, but they're also using some other contractors as well. So that's great to see here locally, and the support going back into the community. And I understand that our general contractor is tracking all that. So by the end of this project, we will have a good idea of how much money has gone back into the community because of this project, which is so important. Mr. Wagstaff, I want to thank you for your incredible hard work on this project, as well as everybody else here at the town of Edson, Yellowwood County. It's been a lot of heavy lifting, but it's very exciting as well. So I'm sure you'll be looking for a nice rest once this project is complete. So thank you very much. Yeah. Next up, we're going to go to Miss Donna Cross, our infrastructure manager, on the town's construction specifications and design guidelines project updates.
So good evening, Council. Administration would like to take this opportunity to update Council on the progress of the construction specification and the design guideline project. This project was approved by Council in 2022, and it aims to establish processes and technical requirements for developers, contractors, and administration during our construction and upgrading our infrastructure. Historically, the town, we refer to the City of Edmonton standards, but as our community continues to grow and evolve, it is crucial to develop our own construction and development standards. We need to tailor them to our own specific and unique attributes. So what has administration been doing with this project? Over the past months, administration has been working closely with each department to ensure the accuracy and comprehensiveness of the information in the documents. We have completed a review with the Transportation, Utilities, and the Parks Department. We have did some edits on it, but we do have more information that we would like to add just to make it more transparent and understandable to our engineers and developers that will be using it. The standards guideline was originally drafted prior to the updates of the land use bylaw in 2024. So currently administration is collaborating with the Development Authority to align all our terminology and specifications from that bylaw to make sure it matches and it's the same wording in our standards. So for our next steps, so once we have our final review and all the information added in, we will be doing our editing and formatting, which isn't my strong suit, so I'll be using our skilled admins for that. And then we will conduct a final review with each department, ensure that they are happy with the information and they don't want to add any more. After we have all this done, we are going to send it back to the consulting firm that's working with us on that, just to get their feedback on the information that we've added. I do apologize that I did not attach the appendice to this. I should have, that was my error, but having said that, the purpose of our briefing today was just to update council to where we're at on this project. We're not ready for a review yet. I feel all the hard work and the collaboration between the departments, we will be soon ready to bring this review forward. And we also just wanted to ensure that council was aware that this is still on our radar and administration understands the importance of this and that we are working hard to get it done. And that's all I have.
Thank you for your updates, Ms. Cross. Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing that, and this is an oversight on my part, we probably should have talked a little bit about engagement too. Typically, you know, I'll give you an example. In the metropolitan area of Edmonton, there's a group called the UDI, Urban Developer Institute, I think it is. And it's all the developers in the Edmonton region got together and they've created an organization. And that's typically where municipalities would consult and send these documents to for input from all the developers in the region. We don't have that here in Edmonton. We don't, in fact, even have really any land development companies to engage with or consult on this. So we haven't really proposed any formal type of engagement for this document. Certainly, I think introducing it here today publicly and giving an initial draft that's viewable, minus the appendices, so we'll get those on there. You know, I don't really recommend that we do any really formalized engagement. We might want to consider posting it at some point on our website for a couple weeks and doing some social media advertising to say, take a look, in case there is someone that's interested. But I just don't see any advantage to us going out with any real formalized engagement on something like this. But certainly willing to redirect if committee believes that there's value to that. But that's something else we would be doing too.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Kitlitz. And to Ms. Cross's comments there that this is still on the radar and we're working on it. This was talked about a long time ago, so there's been a ton of work that's gone into this, and I appreciate everybody's efforts. It is really technical, so unless you're working in the field or you're one doing construction, you're probably never going to look at this document. So I think, you know, engaging maybe with some of our local contractors that might be involved in building in our community to have a look at that, I think would be beneficial. But as for a community-wide consultation, I don't see a need for that. I don't think most of this is pretty engineering, technical information. So, Council, do you have any comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks, through the chair to administration. So I guess my question or comment is on the consultation portion. Excuse me. I definitely can see with how technical the document is that we don't want the entire public to come because it's not something that they would necessarily use on a regular basis, if ever. But I think engaging our contractors is definitely something that would be worthwhile, and any other, I guess, users of this, right? So, you know, those that are maybe involved in home building would be some of the ones that I think of, and the tradesmen maybe with them. This is getting to be a busier time of the year for some of them. And you know, maybe they're not on social media as much, you know, if they're busy or something. I don't know if we can go to the 2 hardware stores and just, if there was like a little 1-page thing with a QR code saying, hey, you know, we want your feedback, like this is technical stuff for you. You know, we really want to reach out to you. And then I guess to contact, you know, to have those conversations, right? I think having a little bit more engagement with them on something that is so technical is probably worthwhile because we're not getting as much elsewhere, right? And is like, even for me, I don't know, you know, if 100 or 1,000 tons of aggregate is necessary on all these things, right? You know, when I read through something, right, I don't have a clue if that's a good number or not. But I think engaging with those who do understand this language there's value in that. So that's just my comments.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Through the chair to administration. So we based our basically guidance on Edmonton standards.
Go ahead, Ms. Cross.
Through the mayor to.
Oh, I was just going to complete that sentence. So we based it on Edmonton standards. Do we know what the town of Hinton based their standards on, or do we know that?
Through the mayor to Councillor Moore, I cannot state what the town of Hinton based their standards on, but the town of Hinton is one of the standards that we have been reviewing and seeing if the same information aligns in ours. That was one of the tasks that I took on when I started, and we've been looking at some of the other places like Whitecourt and ensuring that we have the same level of information in ours as well.
And I think just to clarify, I think previously administration used City of Edmonton. This is more holistic, looking at some other communities. So, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration, or Ms. Cross, obviously we want to get the document as clear as we can be before we sort of officially start using it and it's released. But when that time comes, much like our land use bylaw, is there a time frame for like 9 months, 6 months, a year where we can review it? These are guidelines. I don't know if this is a policy, or I don't know how easily it can be changed. But if there's complications, are those complications easily remedied, or is that something that has to be brought back to council? Or just questions on that.
So through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. Part of our plan for this is to review it. Being a new document, once it's out for a full construction season, we will get feedback back. And I do agree with Councillor Chachka too. Our pre-qualified engineers can look at this for us as well. When we do get the feedback, we will make changes and edits if we need to. It is a document, it's not a bylaw or a policy. Administration can make the changes, but we would bring it forward to council just to let you know our recommendations and get your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kate.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I actually think Ms. Cross pretty much answered it. It's just a fact of how these are done. Years ago, when I worked in municipal government, these used to be bylaws, and I think what municipalities have done over the years, they've taken them out of that realm because they are quite technical and they want to be fluid. So we're going to do a bit more research on what the norm is now for municipalities, but it'll likely be something that's a little less formal in this arena, so that we can continue to refine and adapt as we go. It's our first one, so it'll take some time to refine for sure. So,
Thank you, Council. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Cross, for your presentation, and good luck with this construction season.
Thank you for your time.
I look forward to seeing some of the pictures of things you uncover as you start digging up your streets. Moving on. Edson Security Enhancements, Economic Development Officer Morgan Roberts. Welcome, Morgan.
Good evening, members of Town Council. Am I on? Yes, okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. This evening, I'll be presenting a set of proposed security enhancements for the town of Edson with a focus on both public and private sector collaboration. So during the 2024 budget deliberations, Council directed administration to improve security in the downtown core. The key objectives were to assess and upgrade the town's own surveillance infrastructure and then develop and support a mechanism for local businesses to improve their security. So in response, we've developed 3 options for your consideration. Each is scalable, practical, and aligned with broader goals of community safety and responsiveness. So in the fall of 2024, the Economic Development Department conducted a survey with local businesses about the impact of the unhoused population. The feedback was clear. There's strong support for increased security measures, both for the community as a whole and for individual businesses. This feedback directly shaped the recommendations that we'll be talking about tonight. But before we go into the 3 options, I want to highlight a key program that supports all 3 of these options, and that's the CAPTURE program. So CAPTURE is a voluntary RCMP-led camera registry. Businesses and residents can register their privately owned security cameras, and it allows RCMP to quickly identify and request relevant footage in the event of a crime, saving valuable time and improving response effectiveness. It's secure, easy to join, and completely voluntary, but it significantly enhances public safety outcomes. And all 3 of the proposed options are designed to integrate and promote the CAPTURE participation. So option 1 focuses on modernizing and expanding the town's own surveillance infrastructure. So it includes relocating the system base to the fire hall, extending coverage to First Avenue, enhancing surveillance on Main Street, and centralizing the camera management systems. We received 4 vendor quotes for this work. Costs range from between $12,000 to $75,000, with optional enhancements totaling up to an additional $41,000. Some of the additional enhancements may include additional project planning, annual maintenance, centralized system management, additional maintenance packages, and then specific project management if we were to upgrade. Cameras under this program can be registered in the CAPTURE system as well, enhancing law enforcement visibility in public spaces. Option number 2 is the Business Security Rebate Program. So this option responds directly to the needs of local businesses, as identified in that fall 2024 Economic Development Survey on the impact of the unhoused on local businesses. It offers rebates of up to $1,000 per business location for security improvements covering 100% of eligible expenses. And those eligible expenses, we looked at things outside of cameras as well, again, based on that feedback from businesses. So they may include cameras, lighting, physical barriers, alarms and monitoring systems, or access control systems. Phase 1 would focus on the downtown core, with the potential for future expansion to Highway 16 and industrial areas. To qualify, businesses must meet specific criteria. So if they are installing cameras, they would need high-definition cameras. They have to ensure that cameras are facing the public spaces and the sidewalks, and they have to agree to share the footage with RCMP if requested. Along with that program, we would be encouraging businesses to register with CAPTURE, strengthening that community-wide impact. We've already earmarked $10,000 in the economic development budget, and we're proposing a total of Phase 1 budget of $15,000 for this initiative. That would allow us to assist with more properties in that area. This program is also written to be retroactive, allowing businesses to claim eligible costs incurred within the past 2 years. And that was an important piece because we found that when we were talking to businesses, especially in the fall, that a lot of businesses had been proactive and had made the upgrades themselves already. With that said, they all said that they would be interested in making more upgrades. So our third option is a hybrid approach. So it combines the first two options, so upgrading the town's own camera network and launching a rebate program for local businesses. The hybrid approach provides the broadest coverage with both public and private assets working in unison. It also allows the strongest platform for widespread capture participation, ensuring comprehensive visibility for law enforcement. Naturally, this is the most resource-intensive option in terms of both cost and coordination. So sort of a little overview here. Our recommendation tonight is to go with option 2, and that's the Business Security Rebate Program. It's cost effective, it meets the immediate needs of the business community, and can be scaled over time. We're already seeing strong interest. Again, several businesses have voluntarily upgraded their systems in recent months, and other businesses are talking about it on a daily basis. While municipal camera upgrades remain a valuable long-term investment, they may be better integrated into future downtown infrastructure projects, possibly supported with external grant funding. Regardless of the direction that council chooses, the capture program remains a powerful and ready to implement tool to support enforcement and enhance security capacity. So tonight we're seeking council's direction on which option to proceed with, and our team is prepared to move forward immediately once we have your guidance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts, for your presentation here this evening and bringing this forward. Councillor Chenard. Oh, sorry, Ms. Beveridge, go ahead.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I wasn't intending to interrupt council's flow. It's fine. I just wanted to add some supplementary information at the end. That's fine.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to Morgan, how much do these cameras cost? Like you're saying, like if someone put in a typical camera system on a Main Street business, do we know what these cameras cost? Because I have no idea.
Through the chair, the cost of security cameras of this magnitude, which is sort of the baseline of what you would want to have in order to be able to pull back footage and things like that, have come down drastically. So you can get some fairly well-to-do pieces for a very reasonable price. So we believe that with this $1,000 allotment, the businesses would be able to secure that piece of infrastructure and move forward with their safety goals.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to the committee and administration, the gallery, of course, I was the one who sort of brought this forward at budget time, and I want to thank administration for bringing this information back. Just give some comments that I have in terms of, first of all, the capture program. The capture program did come up at a homelessness task force meeting about having that footage available, and the RCMP say it's good. It's good. Whether or not you have the capture program or not, the RCMP still go to businesses and ask for the footage. That being said, the footage is only as good as the quality. And that's the challenge. If your security system is not updated and doesn't have clear pictures, then all you get is a grainy photo, and that's somewhat problematic. To speak about just option 1 as well, I think option 1 is something we have to consider down the road. Certainly if we have outdated equipment as a municipal level, that's something we may have to consider at future budget time in terms of sort of tackling that and bringing that up to speed. But in terms of the immediate help, I do appreciate the grant or rebate program that you're proposing because it, again, assists those businesses willing to do those upgrades. They still have to have some skin in the game in what they do it. I like the way it's beyond cameras. It can be lighting. It can be some physical barriers. One of the things that we want to see as a municipality is businesses, taking pride in what they have and their beautification. But why would they want to beautify something if they know it's going to be vandalized, if they know there's going to be issues with crime and that sort of thing? This is the first step. If they feel that they're safe with their security footage and the help that they can receive, if they feel safe, then they can take it to the next step and say, okay, now my business feels safe, and now I can take it to the next step of beautifying. We also want to see more businesses in our downtown core. And to do that, people have to feel safe. Whether that safety is real or perceived, and encouraging businesses and assisting those businesses, with this security can help bring more businesses to our downtown core. So I think I appreciate option 2. Just one question in terms of all the discussions or the preparation you have. Did you do any discussions with the RCMP and their comments on this program, or with Staff Sergeant Delisle in terms of this and what option they would prefer or like to see? Any comments on that?
Through the chair. I did not have any direct conversations with the RCMP. However, our small working group did have conversations with the RCMP specifically about the capture program and about its effectiveness and about downtown security in general. So I feel that the comments that were made by the staff sergeant as well as his team were definitely reflected in the conversations we had around the table and ultimately reflected in this presentation.
Thank you. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to committee and administration. Similar to what Councillor Taylor said, I think option 1 is maybe more desirable at a future date. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you said it, but I think the Main Street beautification is on the it's in our 5-year plan. I think it's in year 2 or 3 or something. I can't remember exactly what year, but I think that would be really valuable to have that considered during that time. I think having that public Wi-Fi attached to it would be fantastic. It's a great way to get walkability, but that's not what the focus is here tonight. I would also agree option number 2 would be my desired option for tonight. I do have a couple questions on it. So can a business qualify more than once if they've already done something but they still have some other ideas that they want to do more? Can they qualify for what they've previously done as well as something that they would do in the near future? And how do you have it listed that it would be phase 1 being Main Street. So I know in the past we've kind of talked about downtown is that greater, a little bit wider than just Main Street, including 3rd Ave, a little bit, a block or so, and same thing with 1st Ave. I don't know what your proposal is with that, but my thoughts are that it would be kind of extended a little bit further for the next couple blocks, what we typically call our kind of downtown core, right? Which would include the businesses on 1st Ave that don't face Main Street. I think there's value in having to give them the opportunity to participate as well. So I guess, my question is, can they qualify twice?
Through the chair, at this time, we were proposing a once every, if the project was to continue beyond the pilot, we would look that a business would qualify only once per 3-year interval. However, if council would like something different, we could certainly look at that. The idea was to spread those dollars to assist as many businesses as we could with their safety needs.
Thank you. CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to council, just to supplement on a few items, I'm going to catch up here. Just to note, the agent program has been included within the downtown core. That's happened over the last, about 6 months.
Yeah.
So we've seen positive development in that area. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head right now, but I can definitely share it with council in the weekly update. And I'm sure Mr. 90, we're up to 90, which actually this number, keeps growing fairly positively. So we're really appreciating seeing businesses join on with the program. So that has been a positive benefit downtown. The other aspect of this is that with option 1, I was very curious about this project when this came up in budget. And I reached out to other municipalities in our region of our same size, essentially. Were they investing in infrastructure for their downtown core? And what I found is that they weren't. They weren't replacing. It comes down to the continuous upgrade of the infrastructure and the value in doing so. And that's one thing that I cannot speak for Staff Sergeant Delisle, but I absolutely had a conversation several conversations with regards to this possibility of this. That's why we started to really explore the capture program and what we could do to it was all along the same timing of dealing with the agent program as well as this security of the downtown core, because it was, at the time, quite a serious issue that we were having in our community. So what I can share is that all of this helps. All of these, as we've said, a combined approach to providing with options for individuals to help themselves as well. And also I really appreciated Morgan's idea as far as, having the barriers and expanding that past just cameras. It really helps to, I think it gives that security for our shop owners, the people that are working downtown as well. So I really appreciated the innovation that came along with this project. So to conclude, I think that, from what I'm hearing council, speak to, and I know Councillor Chenard is going to speak as well, but, from our perspective and speaking with the law enforcement as well, that option 2 was a really good start as far as an opportunity for our community. And as I like the idea of always starting with a pilot and being able to explore and develop a program that we haven't tried before and that actually hasn't been done before, that we know about in other communities. That innovation, I think that speaks volumes as far as trying something, figuring out what may work with it, and there's going to be potentially tweaks that we have to make in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair to Morgan. The reason I was questioning what these systems cost, we go to option 1 and they're 120,000. So I'm saying, okay, 15,000, I can help one business, two business, because I like option 2, but I'm just questioning, will the 15,000 help? And then hearing around the table, it's the quality. So I would, see a grant, we will pay for 50% or something, but a high enough quality that is useful. Because if everyone buys them little trail cams that aren't very good and they get their $500 and it did nothing, that's why I'm kind of questioning, what will the 15 grand do to actually help us when I look at option 1 cost?
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. Go ahead, Ms. Roberts.
Through the chair, a lot of the expenses that go into option 1 actually have to do with the infrastructure that would need to be updated to facilitate cameras in the downtown core. So you have to think that in order for cameras to be useful, they have to be Wi-Fi capable generally. A lot of the downtown core is not covered by our Wi-Fi capabilities in public buildings. So we would have to be installing that type of infrastructure as well as power to a lot of those spaces. While that's completely doable, it does come with a cost. It also comes with a maintenance cost that seems like it gets more and more every year. By utilizing option 2 under the rebate program, businesses have the option to put that money towards what they feel would be the best security for them. And we recognize that $1,000 may not cover everything. And unfortunately, there have to be some limitations, but $1,000 will put you on the right path to feeling more safe and secure in potentially the downtown core or other areas of Edson.
Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Through the chair to Morgan, 2 quick questions. $15,000, is that cumulative, or that's the grand total, or is it?
Through the chair, we would say that $15,000 would be the cost for the pilot, and that could serve potentially 15 or more allotments of the grant.
Right. And second question, is it self-monitored in a way, these cameras, when they look at the footage, or does it go through our administration as well?
Through the chair. So the cameras would be self-monitored with the understanding that we are encouraging businesses to participate with all our CMP requests as well as the capture program. We intend to make it a very easy transition so that businesses don't have to figure out how to do things themselves, that we would make it as easy as possible for them. We've also talked about having potentially some recommendations. The process also looks at an inspection of the site, as well as, after the cameras have been installed, a secondary inspection to make sure that the cameras are in fact facing in the right direction, or to see what the grant dollars have gone towards.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Roberts and Councillor Moore. So just a few comments. The capture program is excellent. It's very easy to sign up, having signed up a few properties in our community. And it really gives the RCMP the ability to quickly identify where cameras are available. And it saves them the time of having to drive around, look around, and that all the contact information is there for the RCMP. So I really encourage businesses and homeowners to sign up to the capture program. It's very, very beneficial. The other thing that businesses can do in our community is enroll in a program that is provided by Citizens on Patrol, and it's the crime prevention through environmental design. They will come to a property, they will review your property and give you recommendations on improvements you can do to increase security. As disclosure, I am the Vice President of Citizens on Patrol, and having driven this community at 4 in the morning and 5 in the morning, one thing I really appreciate about what you brought forward here, Ms. Roberts, is the lighting. The lighting is a big problem in some of these areas, and criminals like to be in dark areas where they can't be seen. If there's a dark area, the camera's not going to help. So you need the lighting to be there. Lighting is a huge deterrent. So having that money available, I think, is critically important for that. And in addition to that, I would say that, you know, most of the businesses downtown probably only need 1 or 2 cameras. So $1,000 will go a long ways to supporting that. You know, I've been involved in a project where there was 16 cameras and it was $25,000. So it depends what you're looking at. Making sure you have the high quality is critically important. But one thing I think we may have missed here, Ms. Roberts, in option 2, which I do support, is making sure that those cameras are actually recording, because you can get cameras that just are there, they're alive, which will do us no good. So I think it's important that they have recording capability. And there's various systems available for that, either through the cloud or through having physical equipment on the premises. $1,000 will help up to, you know, maybe even more than 15, depending on what they apply for. So I think that's really, really good. And I think that pretty much, I think, covers all my comments. The only other thing on this would be on option 1, $75,000 is a lot of money. We're not in a position to do that right now. We have enough projects. And the other thing is, too, then you have somebody that has to be continually on top of that. And we don't have the operational resources to deal with that. So I think option 2 is the best way forward. And then we can look at maybe option 1 down the road when some of these other projects that we have before us are completed. I do agree with Councillor Chachka that we should be including the 3rd Ave, 1st Avenue if we can. You know, every year just plug away at it and hopefully we'll enhance security, and nothing but positive comments on the agent program as well. So if there's no other further comments or questions, you have everything you need, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And that will wrap up our public presentations today. We do have a couple closed meeting session items, but I am going to call just a brief 10-minute recess before we go into closed. Thank you. All right, thank you for everyone indulging in that little bit of a break. Councillor Chenard, can I get a motion to go into closed session, please?
Motion, I have the committee whole move into closed session pursuant to section 16 and 25 of the Freedom of Information Act, Freedom of Protection Privacy Act.
All right, thank you very much. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. All right, thank you, everybody. I will take a motion to, I don't need a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned. Yay!